Hello and welcome to our virtual Build My Future event. My name is Joe Greathouse and I am so glad you're able to join us today. I teach construction management at Kirkwood Community College and it is my pleasure to welcome you today. You're joining over 1,000 middle school students today to learn about the wonderful opportunities you'll find in the ACE career fields. Throughout this day, you may hear the acronym ACE, A-C-E. This is a shortened way for us to describe activities and careers related to architecture, letter A, construction, letter C, and engineering, letter E. These three professions work very closely to design and build all across the world. You've probably heard that ACE careers are rewarding. These professions allow you to be a part of designing and constructing buildings of all kinds. From small and simple structures to large and complex projects, there are opportunities for you to join us. As you think about your future career now, while you're in middle school and later in your high school years, you want to think about how your unique personality and skills relate to careers. It is so important for you to find a career that matches your personalities, your interests, and your skills. For ACE careers, we've developed a website to help you learn how your personal interests align with ACE career options. If you have not yet found our website, please visit it when you have a chance. The website is www.explore-ace.org. Once you get to the Explore ACE website, please follow the sequence of topics. You'll be asked to think about things you like to do, and the website will then help you connect your interests to those career profiles. Now that you're in middle school, it may seem like finding a career is a long way away. While you do have plenty of time to think about what you may want to do for a career, now is a perfect time to learn about your personal interests and how those can connect to a future career. As you transition into high school, you will learn additional information about how to prepare for your future. You'll likely learn that there is not one single path that's perfect for all students. In fact, your pathway could be as unique as you are. The pathway options to prepare you for a career in the ACE fields are wide and varied as well. We have developed so many pathways for you to reach your goals, and we're so proud to support you in that effort. While in high school, you are encouraged to explore courses that match your interests. Yes, you'll have to take the normal required courses, but you'll have opportunities to take courses that you want to take. These courses could include design or art classes. They may include technology classes such as industrial technology and Project Lead the Way. Do your best to experience these type of classes in the 9th and 10th grades. They will be so important as you figure out which pathway is best for you. When you get into the 11th and 12th grade, you'll find even more options for you to try out your skills and learn a bit more about what your personal pathway may look like. For the ACE pathway, your high school will have advanced courses either taught in the high school building or at the Kirkwood Regional Centers. These courses give you awesome opportunities to try out skills that align to what professionals do. Looking way ahead, after high school graduation, you'll find even more pathway options to reach your future career. You may choose to join an apprenticeship, where you'll start working in a career and attending shortened classes throughout the year. Or maybe you'll choose to join a college program to learn additional skills. In either case, we have multiple options for you to consider here in Eastern Iowa. Today's Build My Future event will allow you to see some of the great career options in our ACE industry. You'll get the opportunity to listen to professionals in these careers, not just talk about the technical side of their profession, but you'll also learn about the pathways they'd recommend you consider. As you know, we've had to adjust a lot of things in life due to the COVID pandemic. Typically, we'd be meeting in person with a lot of hands-on activities, and we can't wait to get back to that as soon as it is safe to do so. This year, we'll use YouTube Live to help connect with you all. While this is not quite as nice as being in person, we hope you'll be inspired to think about how your personal skills and interests align with ACE careers. We are needing people like you to help us design and build the future. I want to conclude by thanking each of you for being here today. I'd also like to thank all of those working behind the scenes to make this day happen. Students, you should know there are so many people that want to help you find your path, and this event is just one of those activities. Enjoy your day today. Please let your teachers know of any questions you might have, as you help to build your future.
We really appreciate Joe putting that together, and what a tremendous resource he's been for the entire ACE organization. Derek and I both have had the pleasure of working with him in the Kirkwood community to help build this, and he is truly passionate. So appreciate his words today to kick off our event. So before we start in some of the videos, we do want to give a special thanks to the Greater Iowa City Area Home Builders Association that I mentioned is one of our master level sponsors. The association there represents the strengths of local building industry in that market. The builders, remodelers, developers, suppliers, designers, engineers, real estate brokers, accountants, and other industry professionals all fall under the umbrella of the Greater Iowa City Area Home Builders Association. We'd like to give them a few minutes here to introduce themselves to all of you and the importance that they bring to the ACE community in Eastern Iowa.
My name's Adam Hahn. I'm with the Watts Group out of Coralville, Iowa. We are a firm that specializes in development, construction, real estate sales, and property management. So why I think Build My Future is really important is I'm in a construction industry, an industry that is always going to have a need for manpower. We're never going to get to where we are fully. Technology isn't going to take over this industry. If you were to look back in history, we're doing the same things that our grandparents did, or our parents, their grandparents. They still lay masonry block like behind me the same way. It's not something that technology is going to happen in a factory. It's still got to happen in the field every day. Every house is unique in its own certain ways. And so there's always going to be that need for the next generation to come through and learn the trades from their parents or grandparents or just that next group of people. And I think it's really something for kids now. We're getting more technology based, but there's still a lot of satisfaction that comes out of performing stuff with your hands and getting stuff done. And construction definitely offers that opportunity. So at the Iowa City HBA, we've got a vocational training council. And the whole point of that council is to try and get exposure to kids, whether that be at the middle school level or the high school level. So we're always looking for opportunities, whether it be a student-built house, if we can get one of those set up, or student-built remodel, all the way down into the middle school if they're building birdhouses or flower boxes for houses that we can put onto houses or sheds to show them, like, hey, here's what it feels like to get it done, and the satisfaction that you get out of doing this stuff, and then how it changes every day. It's not the same thing. You're not just cutting out the same thing every day. Everything's different. It takes your math skills, your hands-on stuff, and you're continuously learning. Like I said, no project's the same, so you're always going to be looking ahead and thinking about what's the next step, how do I do it, what's going to be different about this one. And there's a lot of kids that is just what they're looking for. They're looking for something that provides them that. So if you're interested in getting involved in construction, please reach out to your school counselor, maybe your industrial tech teachers like that, and find out where the opportunities are for you. Depending on where you're at, they might be right there in your own school. Otherwise, they'll be at one of the regional centers. And there's always another program out there that we're trying to get to. Even through the past year of dealing with COVID, we've been able to find ways to keep our kids involved and interested in the construction industry. But again, ask your teachers, ask your guidance counselors, how can I get involved? Where do I need to go to get some of these classes? Or can I do a job shadow? Can you help me out with that? The people in the construction industry love having young people come and show interest in what we do and want to learn what it is that goes into building a house, a commercial building, a remodel. We are excited about what we do every day, but it only makes us feel better to be able to show and teach the next generation. So please, ask your guidance counselors, your teachers, how you can get involved in construction.
Well, thank you very much to the Iowa City Home Builders Association. And so now we'll move on to our first activity of the day, which is with Tim Ruth of McCreedy-Ruth Construction. Welcome, Tim.
Thank you. Welcome to today's Build My Future event. And as Adam had said a moment ago, there's a huge need for employees and workers in our industry. We're nearly 500,000 workers short right now. What we did for our Build My Future event is the simple beginning of everything, laying out and framing a wall. So thank you for joining us and enjoy it. And we look forward to helping you in any way we can with a career. All right, I'm Tim Ruth with McCreedy-Ruth Construction. This is Jason Laverman, one of our carpenters. I actually have a 2-year degree from Kirkwood in construction management. I went back when I was in my 30s and did that. Jason has a degree from Iowa Central Community College in Fort Dodge in carpentry. And today we're gonna kind of show you what we do, and a couple of the things will show you the difference in how tools have evolved over the years. But basically what we do in the beginning of the project, we lay the foundation out for a new home or a commercial project, and then oversee the concrete work, and then we actually physically perform the framing. We're a contractor that still believes in employing employees and doing work, which is getting to be less and less. There's very few contractors that have their own crews. So what we're doing today is just a very simple wall to show students and the folks involved what we do. So these are 8-foot 2x4s, and what we do is lay out a wall. When we lay out a wall, we start at one end, wherever, when we do a new home or a commercial building, we start from the same end on every wall, and we start from the same end going perpendicular so that all our studs line up throughout the building. And the purpose of that is when we get up to building the roof, our roof trusses need to bear directly on studs. Now, our studs are 16 inches on center, our roof trusses are 24, so in reality, they hit every other time, so, which is fine. So what we do is when you start at the end to lay out a wall, you'll do the 1.5-inch measurement for your first stud, and then our next stud will be at 15.25 to the edge of it, making it 16 inches to the center. And then we lay out after that, and we just hold back 3/4 inch. And the purpose of that is so your sheeting that you put, or your drywall, or what have you, breaks on the studs. If you just pull and go 16, then it won't quite lay out right, and you'll end up cutting your sheets. So that's what we do. And then we typically use an air nailer to assemble our wall structures. However, due to the fact that we don't have air here and so on, we're gonna put them together with fasteners and just use an impact drill. So, and then we'll lay these out, move these, here, slide them your way so we can get rid of them, so we can go this way with our studs. Just lay them on the floor so we can, because our wall goes the other way. So we'll take our top plate and we put our top plate alongside our bottom plate, and then we transfer our marks over so that we have the marks, we lay them out at the same time. And then we lay it on the floor. Now when you're doing a 2x4 wall, we typically put two or three fasteners in each one. And the nice thing about screws in today's market, with everything changing so readily, it's a lot easier for us to move a wall. So a lot of times we'll nail the wall together. Go ahead. And then we'll screw it to the floor. And then that way, if you ever had to move a wall, you can just back the screws out and slide the wall over if someone changed their mind. We always screw a wall together in the event there's something in question. Yeah. And that would be like a bathtub or something of that nature. Then once we get a wall built, our next step is to square it up. And so what we do is very simple, and that's why math is so important. When we do it, we measure corner to corner and get a wall square, and then we can put the sheeting on, and you know when you stand the wall up, it'll be plumb. Now, when we build a new home and we're putting windows in, then we'll put a header at the top that will span from stud to stud, and then we put what's called a cripple underneath it. And the purpose of that is to transfer the load from the roof to the floor, because your roof load, you might have a truss fall in between a wall, in between on top of the window, and you need that load to transfer down to the floor so it's supported. So by using a header, we can move that load to where we need it to be. Now, we put a stud on each side, then we'll put the windowsill in and frame in with our small studs. So very simple. And what we do, once you get on there, and we'll corner this. So when we square a wall, we just hook on the corner, and we take that measurement. I'm at 11'4" and 1/8. And then we'll just, typically on a home, we will, and I'm at 11'7", so we're way out of square. But all we have to do is shorten this up. I'm at 11'6", and we just go back and forth till once you got it done, and I'm at 11'6", so we're perfect. So once you've got it done, now the wall would be square, and all of our studs would be in place, which we could put them all in place, and then it's ready for sheeting. So in a perfect world, it's great to work inside. It's not raining, it's not windy, it's not hot, and it's great. But this is what we do, and we then repeat this every day for 8 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours a day. Now, something that has evolved in our industry, back in the year, my grandfather was a carpenter, and he was a carpenter back in the 20s. So this would have been a very advanced hammer for 1920. And it's just not exactly what you would call conducive to good construction. It's not balanced. So then over the years we got better, and we went to a hammer like this. This is a framing hammer, but this is a steel-headed framing hammer. And then after that, this is more of a typical, I use this for more of a trim hammer. This is an S-Wing, which is one of your premier brands of hammers. And I've had this hammer for 20 years. But now we use hammers. We worry about our employees and their shoulders and their arms and everything that goes along with a torn shoulder ligament or something. So this hammer weighs 14 ounces. So there's just a decisive, this hammer weighs about 2 pounds. This hammer weighs less than a pound. And we can drive the nail probably twice as fast with this hammer. The nice thing when you start it, this hammer has a magnet, so you can put a nail on it and start the nail and then drive it in. So the technology in the 40 years I've been in work, 40 years ago, this was the best hammer you could buy on the market. And now this hammer's been improved even more. Now it comes with a titanium handle that doesn't break. When I was first a young carpenter, we used a drill that had a cord on it. And you would chuck all your bits and so on into the chuck. Well, now we've gone to battery tools. Charge the batteries, impact, whether we have a drill, we can interchange any kind of bit you want. Our saws are now battery powered, so you don't have to run a cord. And even our hammer drills and our trim saws, everything we use can be battery powered. And it speeds everything up because we don't have to be stretching cords out every day, tripping breakers, having a bad cord, having the hazard of tripping over a cord. There's just a lot of things. So that's kind of where we're at. This is what we do. We do it all day, every day. We do trim. Our company, McCreedy-Ruth Construction, we've been around for 23 years, and we are total, we provide design build. We have interior designers, we have home designers, we have estimator, complete gamut of things. We have a custom cabinet shop where we build build-ins for our new homes that we build. So, you know, we still frame our homes, we still side our homes, and we still trim our homes. So and that's rare. It's very rare that builders do that today. So.
All right, thanks, Tim, for that great video. We've just got a couple more quick questions for you. So one thing is, so what would be some of the best qualities that a new hire could bring to McCreedy-Ruth if they wanted to join your team?
I think work ethic is the biggest thing. Being able to show up every day, work all day, and not be on the phone all day is a huge thing. And we can teach someone how to be a carpenter, but we can't teach them we can't teach work ethic. So sure. As a young person, the most important thing is follow your parents, learn a good work ethic, and always work on your math skills, because math is huge. And that's it. I mean, you just show up and want to work. That's the biggest thing right now.
Maybe touch us a little bit too about your guys' organization and specifically what type of building you guys do at McCreedy-Ruth.
Yes, we're a complete custom home builder. We start with, we meet with the client, we take the time, figure out what their needs are, identify needs and wants. We have interior designers, we have home designer, we have full-time estimator on staff. We have 3 interior designers, so we can work through with the customer from their dream to reality, start to finish. We have a custom woodworking shop where we can do the build-ins and do some custom cabinetry and so on like that. So we do everything start to finish, and we're one of the few builders in the Iowa City market that does employ, you know, interior designers, home designer, the whole gamut of people.
That's fantastic.
That's really great. And that's really interesting to hear about how the influence of technology has kind of impacted taking care of your employees and the relationship between hiring your own crews and whatnot. Can you talk a little bit more about that and how you're facing that challenge today?
Well, finding people is very difficult. We recently had an opening for a home design person, and we did a new thing called Handshake, I believe they call it, through Kirkwood, and went out, reached out and asked different folks to apply. And so we ended up interviewing and hiring a interior designer rather than a home designer, with the theory that that person would be able to come on board and have a better grip on what size rooms are, how rooms should lay out, stuff that a person that would just typically run the drafting program wouldn't maybe think about. And
sure.
We're very excited. Our new drafts person is supposed to start in a week or two, and it will definitely be a huge help.
Very interesting. And how does that
it's getting harder and harder to find help?
Sure. Well, now, Tim, how does that work when you've got so many different disciplines on staff? Like, as far as all the way from a person in the field building a home, and then working with office staff and interior designers, and then also kind of understanding the client's goals and needs and expectations. I mean, what would the experience like be of, say, a construction person on your staff, or what kind of things other than just the hard skills that they acquire for, say, the example of framing a wall, like in your video? What kind of relationship would they have with the interior design staff, and just like how can they kind of expand their skill sets and knowledge base from there?
Well, the interior designer typically takes control of the job once it starts and acts also as a project manager. And then between them and the field staff, you know, they have to coordinate everything and work with the client to see, you know, everything changes. Something moves, something goes here. And so you've constantly got to be alert to what's going on. And with lumber shortages, material shortages, you know, you've got to be so far out ordering your material right now just to have it. And you stay on top of your game. And the interior designer depends on the field staff to give them rough measurements. So when they order cabinetry, and so on, the stuff all fits. You know, we need to know square footage of siding. We need to know, everybody has to work together and to get to the end so that the home is what the customer wants when it's finished.
Excellent.
Very cool. Excellent. And we know that you're also active in the creation of and sending new hires to the Kirkwood Construction Technologist Apprenticeship. Can you tell us more about why you support that and also what you look for in an apprentice?
Well, what we look for in an apprentice is someone that wants to learn more. And we're willing to take the time, spend the money to send that person to Kirkwood. They go one day a week for about 4 months, and they take classes. At the end of 3 years in the apprenticeship, they will have their first year of a construction management degree out of the way. We have to identify a young person that wants to be part of it. It's not just everybody wants to be an apprentice, not just everybody wants to get additional education. And today, additional education is huge. And I can't say enough about our relationship with Kirkwood, whether it be the construction management program, the carpentry program, the interior design program, the architectural drafting program, or the apprenticeship. All of those are great. And I'd like to thank the sector board for putting this event together, because it is our future.
Absolutely. Well, it's certainly our pleasure to be participating in this event as well. And thank you very much for your time, Tim, and McCreedy-Ruth for your time and energy on the video and activity today. So thank you very much. And we'll go over to Eric for our next event.
What a great resource. And Tim is, if you ever have any questions, he is an open book. If you are a young person looking for some opportunities, again, talk with your school counselors and let them know. But a lot of the folks, obviously, that are part of this presentation today, including our next presenters, MMS, are big supporters of this. So if there's anything you do see or a presenter that you see that's of particular interest and you'd like to ask more questions, again, get with your school counselors who can connect you with the folks necessary to make a connection with some of these organizations. So thank you again, Tim. Appreciate it. So the good folks at MMS, just as a quick overview, the best thing I can say about you is you do a lot of things. So we're looking forward to hearing about the work that you guys do so that these young folks on the line with us today and on YouTube can learn a little bit more about what construction is, which is so much more than what they may think it was before once we get done with your guys' presentation. So with that, I'm going to have you guys introduce yourselves and take us through your presentation, please.
Thanks. I'm Sandy Style. I'm with MMS Consultants, and I think Tim, our marketing director, is on right now, and he's going to show you a video. All the folks that you see on the screen right now are with MMS Consultants and have helped with Spartan Hollow, which is one of the projects we're going to talk to you about today. So Tim, if you want to cue up that video. The project I'm going to talk to you today about is called Spartan Hollow. Spartan Hollow is a residential development about 2 miles south of the city of Solon. What you see over here is Dillon's Furrow Road. So the parcels that I'm working on is this one here and this one here. I can almost see the contours of it. Granted, I've been doing this for 14 years and I'm looking for access. I'm looking for site visibility, for turning movements. I'm thinking about zoning. I'm thinking about the neighbors. And a huge part of what we do at MMS Consultants is looking at topography. We call it topo. Our surveyors go out and they do what's a topographic survey, and they shoot in all the contours of the property.
So Spartan Hollow was a bit of a different site for us from a survey perspective, because we used 3 main ways of gathering all the data. We used our typical way, which is using a total station, a GPS unit, which those two kind of go together. And then we also use LiDAR data, which we get from the county, where they fly it with a plane and use lasers to measure down millions of shots over top of the entire county, which isn't quite as accurate, but it works for getting preliminary data to get started. And then to supplement all of that, we used a drone photogrammetry to take further data on the site.
This is a ridge. We like to put the roads up on the ridges because it's easier to make the water go downhill. You never want a bunch of water going towards your road if you can avoid it. This right here is a creek. So when I see that creek, I know I can't impact that with the ordinances. And to give you an idea of how many rules that I'm looking at, this book right here, this is just Johnson County. This does not include the DNR regulations that we have to follow, SUDAS, and SUDAS stands for Statewide Urban Design and Specifications. And then we also have to use Iowa Stormwater Management Manual. And when you can put the road up on the ridges, that makes it possible for us to create walkout lots. And the realtors and the builders love walkout homes. They're more valuable. It's easier to sell them. And we also try and look for ways where we're not moving a whole bunch of dirt. The more grading we have to do, the more expensive it gets.
The work in Spartan Hollow for me wasn't too different than what I've typically been doing. I've been doing a lot of grading projects and turning the grading into stormwater because it's kind of how our process goes with getting our pre-developed areas built out for county development codes and our stormwater requirements. And then you kind of have to work through grading the whole site out in order to get an idea of where your developed drainage areas are going, and then from there sizing ponds to fit in these different lots. And then I guess it's always nice with ponds is trying to figure out how to fit them in different places that look good, are accessible and useful for everybody in that neighborhood.
I know some people can't even really describe what I do. I do so much, so this project was not different in that sense because every day for me is different. I like construction. I don't know. There's just something about, homes and developments. It's where you live. It's where you spend your time, with your family. I think that's important that that's something that's done well. I can handle the coordination of them, making sure things get done and things get done on time. I deal a lot with coordination with the city and the county because this was a fringe project, so it had to go through both the county and the city of Solon in anticipation of it ever being annexed in. So I deal with that. I deal with utility companies, making sure they're getting satisfied with putting in utilities and easements and stuff like that. I deal with the clients, making sure they understand the process ahead of them when it comes to developing, as far as city comments and reviews and fees and kind of the administrative part of what gets their development through.
Spartan Hollow has multiple zonings on it. The southern part of it is your traditional residential type zoning, which is 1 acre or around about 1 acre. But on this particular subdivision, there's a new type of zoning called RUA. Basically, it means that we can go up to 4 units per acre. And our primary constraint on that is the septic systems. When we're doing developments in the county, we don't have sanitary sewer that we can just tap into and increase mass density. So we were limited a little bit, but we also had the ability to drop under an acre.
Definitely more upfront thought about septic than we usually do for like a residential subdivision. The way that the subdivision is structured, it's mostly 1 acre lots, and if you have a 1 acre lot, you can have your own private on-site septic. But for the lots that are less than an acre in size, which towards the north, there's like this nice little cluster of smaller lots, those are less than an acre. So then we had to start looking at like shared septic systems. And so that was probably the most challenging part of the subdivision, was just getting that configuration to work out. Having pressure from the client and the project manager to get as many lots in as we could, but yet knowing we have constraints of the land and the topography and the way things work out to get things to actually fit in there. So it was a bit of a balancing act, but at the end of the day, I mean, everybody's on the same page. You know, we all want it to be successful and to work.
Remember how I was telling you how this is a low spot? Here's my ridge, 840. Here's my low spot, which is 800. All of this water, we're gonna direct this and capture it and treat it. And what that's gonna look like is a big pond right there. Now, a lot of engineering firms have landscape architects, and you may wonder why we have landscape architects. Landscape architects put nice undulating lines on it. It looks more natural, and it looks like something you want to live next to as opposed to a wastewater lagoon. For the average city council person, board of supervisors, neighbor, they look at this and they see a bunch of lines and they don't understand what all these lines mean. So we can create 3Ds of what the developments look like. And that brings all those lines and scribbles, that brings it to real life, and then they understand it better.
I took, I think, LiDAR contours and got an aerial, draped that on the LiDAR. So I started modeling the site sort of as design was going on, laying out the pedestrian trails. It just needs to look like a place you'd want to live.
Well, that's a fantastic video, you guys, and really probably doesn't even come close to highlighting all the amazing things you can do. You brought up a lot of great points in your presentation too about the really varied career paths, even within just your organization that are offered. Obviously, you got Tim, who's in marketing on here. You've got folks that are utilizing LiDAR and building three-dimensional renderings. You guys do a ton. So when you guys look at that, how do you look at development of your personnel? I mean, a lot of you guys have likely come on maybe in a position that wasn't where you're at now. So Sandy, maybe you could talk to how you guys look at developing people at MMS and allowing them to continue to grow in their career paths in construction, because I think that is important to a lot of young people, right? They want to continually be challenged, have new opportunities to do exciting new things. How do you guys view that? Either you look at a promotional movement through the organization or just giving new opportunities to folks to develop themselves?
Well, I think if it starts off when we first meet the person, and going back to what Tim Ruth was talking about, you can kind of tell from a person if they're willing to learn. That's a huge part of what we do. I think all the folks that are you see on the screen, I look at all of them and I think of what they knew when they came in here and what they've learned since they've been here, and it's staggering to see the growth in all of them. And we're going to push you. You are going to learn here, whether you like it and we're going to throw you in the deep end of the kiddie pool. So I think the most important thing is, are you willing to learn? When I started here, I didn't know the difference between a lot and I was like, a lot of what? So, but they were willing to teach me, and they didn't care. The people that, were part of the leaders in the organization at the time, they didn't care who I was, obviously what I looked like or anything like that. It was, I wanted to learn. So if you're willing to learn and you saw things today that you thought were neat, this is the place. So, and we develop ground for a lot of things. Some people think development is just housing. It's not. And there's videos on our YouTube page that explain more what we do. We develop schools, we develop roads, trails, cities. I'd probably have to say 70% of Iowa City was developed due to MMS Consultants.
Wow.
So, and forming relationships within the community. That's a huge part of it. Yeah, we have people in here that are definitely introverts and don't really like to talk much, and that's okay for what they do. But then we've got other ones that really got to go out and pound the pavement and build relationships within the community. And it takes both of them together. We both need each other to make this company work. So.
Absolutely. A couple of questions for the other folks on the line. I know of particular interest is always me when you see 3D renderings, right? You did mention in your presentation that, hey, it's a lot more than lines. When you look at lines every day, like I'm sure you guys do on your 2D renderings or construction plan sets, you guys understand what it's getting at. But when you're trying to do your best to be a convincing group to prove that the development dollars are being spent well, 3D renderings help a lot. And so, Joe, I know you spoke a little bit to that 3D rendering, and if you wouldn't mind coming unmuted for just a second, but talk about what it's like for you to be able to not just create that 3D rendering with your team here, but then eventually see it happen. See the thing that you imagined, that you put together, presented, actually see that come to life and be built. How is that for you? And is that something you envisioned yourself doing 10 years ago? Or is it something that you're excited you came across and found?
Well, seeing something that you help create and envision is always, I think, what we all like, sort of the reward. But it's tricky, and every project's a little bit different. Like I said, this one I was sort of modeling as we were changing some of the designs. So things have to be kind of fluid in a case like that. But I'd say there's three things you're always trying to accomplish. You're always trying to show the existing surroundings, existing site, and capture that, and then show your design intent, whether it's topography or water, drainage, things like that. But then the trickiest, I think, is trying to show, years down the road after something's been built, totally built out, how it could potentially look, and that takes more time and creativity, kind of filling in that potential vision. Yeah.
Right. No, very, very exciting stuff. And then quickly before we, I know we're running a little bit behind on time, but I do want to ask Lacey and Lee. I mean, you both obviously, Lacey, you mentioned it, you just like construction, you got involved in it, and a big effort of ACE and everyone in our industry is to get more women involved in construction, architecture, engineering. For you guys, you love construction, but what was it about MMS and in particular the work you do that you think is something a lot more women need to be thinking about, and girls as they're growing up and thinking about what they want to do? What drew you to construction and the type of work you're doing with MMS? And why would you say it's something that more people need to be looking to as a potential career path they maybe didn't think about before? Either one, don't jump. Don't all jump.
Pick one. Why'd you come here? And what have you learned since you got here?
Outside a lot, which is why I was kind of drawn to it, still being outdoors. So the septic component, I'm always meeting new people, which I also really enjoy. And I think that's a big part of all of our jobs for the most part, is getting to meet with the clients. So that's cool. And then, Joe kind of mentioned seeing what you designed come to life. I mean, that's all part of our job too, and that's pretty great. So, it's also nice being a woman in this field. We're kind of underrepresented. I mean, Sandy and Lacey both contest to that. So it's kind of empowering to be maybe the only girl on the job site too. We also need to change that. We need more women out here, but
No, absolutely. And I think it's more important than ever that folks continue to realize that there's career paths for everybody. It doesn't matter what your background is. You heard Tim say it earlier. You're hearing the good folks from MMS say it. We need good people who are willing to learn in this industry. So MMS, really appreciate your guys' time today. Sandy, any final thoughts you have before we go on to the next segment here?
No, but I would like Lacey to, I think she got a little cut off. She was going to say something.
Absolutely.
So I actually started out, my initial interest was, can you guys hear me?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. In residential construction. And then I started working for a general that did commercial. And the one thing that really interested me about MMS is you can't really do anything without the starting land. And so there was such an opportunity to learn so many different things. I mean, we do so many different things in this office, and I have learned way beyond what I ever imagined. And I've grown in my abilities beyond anything that I understood before. And I think that's important for girls and women to see, is because I think the construction industry can sometimes be kind of, I don't know, there's so much more to it than I think a lot of people understand, especially for women in this industry. And I don't think they see as much of the opportunities that are available for them. So.
No, good points. And again, kudos to you for being out here sharing you guys' experiences, all of you, because all of you have an important role to play and really highlight what we've talked a lot about in ACE, and that is that the career opportunities are incredibly diverse. Don't think about it as just one thing. This is an industry that creates the world we live in every day. So MMS, thank you all for your time and your contribution to this presentation today. And again, if you do have interest in MMS or any of what they do, get with your school counselors and feel free. I'm sure they'd be happy to connect and talk more about their careers and opportunities and what they have to offer. So thank you again, guys.
Thank you very much.
Derek?
Yeah, and next we've got a sponsorship video from Hills Bank. And in 1904, a dedicated group of citizens in Hills, Iowa came together with one shared goal: to create a local community bank that truly cares about the people it serves and provides ways to help them prosper. Though Hills Bank has grown quite a bit since then, they remain committed to their most valuable assets, which are their customers, employees, and community. And today, Hills Bank spans 19 locations with more than 500 co-workers across 3 eastern Iowa counties. Hills Bank sponsors many great events throughout Iowa, including the coat ceremony for Kirkwood construction graduates, Build My Future events like the one we are having today, and many more. So that we have a message from Hills.
I'm Amy Miller. I'm a commercial lender with Hills Bank. I've been with Hills for 15 years. And Hills Bank is a large community bank. We started in 1904 in Hills, Iowa, and we've always been really supportive of youth in the community, and that's kind of what has driven us to sponsor this Build for the Future, and also some other ACE events throughout the corridor. So one of the things that this event really does is it exposes kids to other careers besides a 4-year track, and we really need those jobs in our community. And really our hope is that these kids will go into these trades and also just stay in our community and keep our local community strong. We've been really fortunate in the corridor area that we have a lot of construction, we have a lot of growth, and we have a very stable economy. So we just want to continue that for generations to come. Hills Bank appreciates the opportunity to partner with ACE in these programs, and if students are interested in learning more, please go to exploreace.org.
All right, thank you to Hills Bank. And next up, our next activity is from Hodge Construction Company.
Hi everybody, thanks for having us. My name is Andy Hodge with Hodge Construction. To the right of me is Andy Siegmiller. And then farthest right is Josh Peterson, all project managers at Hodge. And so what our company does is we do anything from duplexes on up to apartment buildings, hotels, and commercial. And so we kind of live in the development world where we create our own projects versus a normal general contractor that might do hard bid or negotiate jobs. We'll kind of create our own work. And so we'll look at a piece of land and work with a city and see what they would accept there, whether it's housing, hotel, commercial, et cetera. And we'll kind of work through the numbers and see what would be viable and kind of go from there. So we kind of create our own workload, which is fortunate. And so we've been in Iowa City and the corridor area for about 40 years, and so just been fortunate to kind of be a local company. We always consider ourselves right size. We're not looking to grow, not looking to travel and kind of take over anything, but just kind of keep our own workload in front of us. So at that, I'll pass off to Annie, who's going to talk about our activity.
Yeah, so like Andy said, we've been around for about 40 years. So obviously a lot in the construction world has changed the way things are done. over that time. So our video, we just kind of wanted to highlight how things have changed to become more efficient, probably safer in many ways, since as compared to the early days when Hodge first started, as compared to how we do them today. So went through building building some little walls using different tools and methods to create that.
Our original plan was it's called old school versus new school. We were going to have our oldest superintendent. They say you can't teach an old dog new tricks, right? So we're going to have our oldest superintendent do the old school activities. Well, you can imagine he tripped and got hurt on a job, and so he pulled the injury card and backed out of the participation. So you got all the young guns doing both sides, but anyway, it was a lot of fun.
Good morning. We are Hodge Construction. My name is Andy Hodge. On my right, I have Josh Peterson. On my left, I have Andy Siegmiller. We're going to be showing you some of the differences of how construction has progressed in the last 40 years. So Josh will be our old school representative. He's going to be using the tools of the trade from 40 years ago. Annie will be using the new school tools and technologies, and just to show you the differences of how construction has progressed. So, okay, so to start, we got to cut the material, right? So we got 2x4s we got to cut. Josh's arms and forearms are going to be getting really tired holding these. He's got to cut every 2x4. He's got a miter box. He might cut a square cut, might cut an angled cut. This is what they use. This was their master plan back in the day. So Josh is going to be using that. Then when he gets to building the wall, he's got to show him your hammer. He's got a beast of a hammer today, if you can find it. So he's got to use hand drives and a hammer, right, to nail the studs together, nail top plate together, build the wall. So these will be Josh's tools of choice across the board. There you go. Annie, she has a little more in her arsenal. So when she goes to cut, she gets to either choose between the chop saw or the skill saw, both battery powered. You can go anywhere with them. It's going to be quick and easy and accurate. Then when she goes to build it, she can again choose between a couple tools. She's got a nail gun, which is a one-shot wonder, and then you got impact drill. So kind of different applications, but both much faster than Josh's, as we'll see here shortly. Okay, Josh, so this is your tool of choice today. Here's your timer, this is your enemy. You got to cut 1 2x4. And then we're gonna time you and time Annie, and we're gonna see who wins. You ready? On your mark, get set, go. Go, go Josh, go Josh, go Josh. It's not looking good, folks. Go, 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 time. Okay, just shy of 20 seconds. As you can see, his face is red. Well, you can't see because of the mask, but I can tell he's breathing hard. He's worn out, and that was just one stud. Let's go over to Annie's table. Okay, now we're to the new school session. Annie is gonna show us how fast she can cut a 2x4 to match Josh's length. So, Annie, you ready to go?
Ready.
On your mark, get set, go. Three seconds. Josh, how does that make you feel?
Tired.
So that is about 6 times faster than Josh did it, right? So you can see as you're building the whole house or whole building how one tool can make a big difference. Okay, so now all their material is cut. We kind of laid it out and prepped the walls, and now they're ready to assemble them. So Josh, again, is going to be using a hammer and nails, and Annie's got her nail gun. So first we're going to see how long it takes Josh to do it the old school way. Josh, you ready? You fired up? On your mark, get set, don't hit me, go. Not bad, not bad. The crowd is enthused. Oh no, oh, he salvaged it. Nicely done. Keep going, Josh. Keep going. You're still in the race. Is it on his mark? Looks good. Good job. 30 seconds. Josh is getting tired. You can tell his forearms, his back's starting to hurt. His enthusiasm's decreasing. We don't know if he's going to make it. Nicely done. Annie's over there yawning. She's just wondering when you're gonna be done. Nicely done. Time, 1:15. And half of a 4-foot wall is built. All right, good job, Josh. On to Annie. Okay, now we're on to the new school. So Annie's got her nail gun. She's ready to go. She kind of watched Josh and laughed a little bit. So here we go, new school. On your mark, get set, go. 1. All right, she's rolling right along. It's like one shot. Josh had like 15 hits each nail. Nicely done, one more.
Time.
43 seconds. Again, nicely done for the new school team. Josh, good try, good try. Okay, so now that we have both walls built, we're gonna move on to sheeting the walls. So, fortunately, sometimes they say if it's not broke, don't fix it. So, old school technique is the same as the new school for measuring and marking out sheeting. So, Josh gonna measure his 2-foot by 4-foot piece, snap it out, and then we'll get them cut. And again, when we cut, we'll make Josh do kind of the old school method and Annie will use the skill saw. Josh, good luck. I don't know if this has ever been done. We'll see how your strength's holding up. So, on your mark, get set, go. Time. We'll come back in an hour, see how he did. And we're back. We had a short intermission. 3 minutes and running. He's almost there. You got this, Josh. Persevere. Woo! 324. Nicely done. And an impressively straight line. Good job. There's the old school for you. Okay, so we just saw Josh take his time on the hand saw. He made it through. Now we're to the new school. Annie's got her skill saw. She's gonna cut her sheathing, and we're ready to go. Annie, you ready? On your mark, get set, go. Oh, just a little longer arm. Time, just shy of 20 seconds. That's a big improvement from Josh's time. So he's recovering, he's taking his energy drink, he's ready to start framing the wall up again. Okay, so we're the last step of assembling these walls. They got the studs cut, nailed together, they got the sheeting cut. Now they're ready to fasten the sheathing to the framed wall. And so, again, Josh has got his weapon of choice, his hammer and nails, and he's moved on to the impact drill and screws. So we'll see how the two fare against each other. So Josh, we're just gonna do the 4 corners. We're gonna kind of give you a break. We know your forearm's been tired. Ready when you are. You ready?
Yep.
Are you mentally and physically prepared for the test at hand?
Yeah.
All right. On your mark, get set, go. Oh no. Nicely done, nicely done. Good, good. Oh, we'll count it. We'll count it. That's a shiner. We'll count it. And that's what happens. I don't know if you can see it at home, but fatigue set in. We got 2 bent nails at the end. That's what happens when you're old school. You get tired, frustrated. Forgot to stop your clock too, so just under a minute. Good job, Josh. Okay, so now we're on to the new school. Annie's got her weapon of choice, impact and screws. So here we go. You ready, Annie?
Yep.
On your mark, get set, go. Nice. Oh, don't forget your bed. That'll happen. That'll happen. Nice. We could take a coffee break. Right. Time. 27 seconds. So about half of what Josh took. So there you can see it. We have the two walls built. Now we're going to do one more little task, but you can see the difference already between a new school product and an old school technique. Okay, so now we got the wall sheeted, and whatever it is at the finish stage, you need to make sure things are plumb and level. So Josh has got his 2-foot level here. He's going to mark a vertical plumb line on it. He's going to mark a horizontal level line on the wall. So I won't even time you here, Josh. No pressure. We're just going to see the process. So the key on this is Josh has got to look here and make sure the bubble's perfectly between the lines, and he'll mark it out. And he's going to go horizontally, do the same. There you go. So it takes kind of a steady hand and just kind of a careful eye and lays it out that way. So now we're going to go over to Annie, who's got a laser level. So this will be, it's kind of dummy proof, you could say. You hit the button and boom, it flashes right on the wall. So there you go. You set it and forget it, and it's already done. You can work off that all day long. Okay, Josh, Annie, it was a great job. You both put your hearts and souls into it. Unfortunately, there can only be one winner, so I want you guys to shake hands. COVID pound. Okay, Annie, champion. Josh, better luck next time. Thank you, guys.
Wow, thank you very much for that. That was really, really interesting to see those comparisons. And now I know that I'm going to make things a lot more efficient when I'm doing projects at home too. Wow. Well, thank you, Hodge, for that. And just first question for you is, so what kind of training does Hodge offer to new hires?
There you go, Josh. On the job training.
Yeah, a lot of it will be on the job training. I mean, we get lots of different people helping us out. Some have previous carpentry experience, and then some just are hard workers and need somewhere to work. There's different levels of work to be done for everyone, and people who are able to work hard, we find a spot for them. So all different skill levels.
So, but what we do, again, different than some other general contractors, we don't self-perform anything. We're just a management company. So we'll hire every trade out. And so I'd say most of our management level staff come with background in either some type of construction on the job training, which they would have learned at a different company, right? Whether it's framing or concrete or whatever it might be, but kind of came with a construction background of some kind, or an education background, have a degree in construction management or a related field. And so we connect with a lot of people from Kirkwood or just kind of other local, whether it's Iowa State or UNI or whatever. But so that's kind of what we look for, right? And then once you're here, every once in a while we'll get a training or certification. We do a lot of lunch and learns with other industries, but as far as training, it's mostly on the job and kind of geared that way.
Sure, absolutely. And you talked too a bit about how you do kind of a range of project types from light commercial to heavier commercial, and then also working with developers and things. Can you talk a little bit about what the difference in projects are from on like a commercial side as opposed to like residential? Because I think, you know, with students growing up, it might be more familiar, just the idea of, you know, a project around the house or how a house kind of works. So can you talk a little bit for students about the difference between residential and commercial construction?
Yeah, so how we started, I guess, you know, 4 years ago is in single family homes, right? And just the builder at that point. So really worked with Dean Oaks, who was a developer, and then kind of built single family homes for Dean. And then eventually said, hey, Dean, can we get on the development side too, which is putting the roads and infrastructure in. And then from there, it evolved into duplexes and multifamily. And so again, you're in that residential field. The residential field is great. We work with a lot of good subs there. That I guess the biggest difference in residential to commercial is paperwork, you know, for better or worse. So you get into the commercial field, and whether it's for the university or just other kind of big office clients, everything's documented on a different level. And so to track that with submittals and RFIs and ASIs and all these drawing changes or change order requests and that paperwork side to make sure you don't get behind on schedule or budget is critical. And so fortunately, a lot of our residential subs are comfortable in the commercial field as well. Now you get into bigger industrial and bigger commercial, you hit a different price point, and so we're happy to be just below that threshold, I guess, of large industrial and commercial.
Sure, absolutely, very good. If you guys look, Aaron, first of all, I do think you might have a future in maybe doing some kind of, we were just commenting, I mean, that's its own YouTube channel, your commentary. And I suspect that you guys can probably say if you're at Hodge, you better be used to a fair amount of sarcasm in the day-to-day. I thought that was a great presentation. When you guys look out and you say, hey, you're a young person, maybe talk a little bit about, as we get close to time with you guys, is talk a little bit about, you know, a lot of the students who are with us today, they're young, right? They're looking for any range of opportunities in their lives. What is it about construction that you think is worth thinking about for them as they consider the next 5 years of their education and what things they need to get into? What message do you have for them as they grow throughout the rest of their education and potentially their futures, if they have interest, or maybe even if they don't yet have interest in construction?
You want to take the thing?
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of, and maybe the sort of the pandemic made it even more apparent that our industry, at least, because we're spread over, you know, smaller to larger projects, we have not slowed down, right? Like, I feel like it's sort of where there are maybe other industries that people were furloughed right away. Like, construction feels like a pretty solid field to be in, where really, you know, if you're depending on specifics, you could make a good living from for a long time. So I think that's really a valuable thing to consider as you're looking for a career path to choose. And within our kind of size of company, you know, we may have a lot of people who would start, maybe you start doing more physical stuff, but then there is opportunity to move into being a project manager where you're not necessarily the one putting the walls together, but you're overseeing. So there's trajectory, or if, you know, we also have people who are putting the walls together who like that and prefer that and do that for a long time. So there's a lot of different nuances, a lot of different areas within the construction world where I think you can find something that really suits you well and do that for a long time.
I think there's two other things that make construction an attractive industry to be in. One is there's not necessarily a requirement to enter it, right? Like, to be a doctor, well, you got to go to school for half a decade or more and then pass all the tests, and then eventually you're a doctor, right? Well, construction, you can enter it from any angle and really define your own path, right? And it takes work and takes time, but you can get to where you want to be in construction without having necessarily certifications just to start. So that's one thing. The other thing that is exciting for us is every day is different, right? So we don't go to the same restaurant every day and make the same food, that type of thing, or same warehouse and produce the same product. Every project's different, every client's different, every development is different. And so we're fortunate to have an exciting industry that's always changing, And yeah, so I think it's a great option for those that might not know what they want to do post high school.
Absolutely. I think that's a great point. I think there's, kind of traditional pathways for a lot of things that say you must go this route, whether it's go to a 4-year plus college. But I think that's a really important thing, kind of like you mentioned, for students to hear that, whatever route of education it is, it's just another tool for you to find your way forward in your career. So just because one type of education or pathway might be generally thought of as the right way to the future, it's again just one path. And so students, I think we all here on the ACE sector board and a lot of our partners here today just encourage you to just look at education as just a tool to figure out a way of how you want to find a career that works for you, that you are passionate about, and it doesn't matter really which way a path or type of education moving forward. So, well, thank you so much, Hodge. We really appreciate your time and your video today. The activity was really engaging. And so with that, we'll, do you have any last comments or anything else you'd like to add before we move on to our next activity?
I don't think so. Just appreciate the opportunity. Looking forward to reconnecting the students in person, hopefully next year. But I think this is a good alternative given the circumstances.
Here, here, for sure. Here, here.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
And that's one really interesting thing too, I think, about the previous message from Hills, Eric, is, you think of architecture, construction, engineering, sometimes it's just, well, it's just an architect, it's just a contractor, it's just an engineer. But then you forget how many different moving parts and pieces there are for any building project. Like, again, financing through Hills Bank and community partnerships for messaging. If it's a public project, how many different people do you need involved besides just architects, contractors, and engineers? You need buy-in from the public and communication to really bring the project home. So I find it really interesting. It's so many more entities involved with that.
So. It is. It absolutely is. So the next group we've got here is the group from Rinderknecht and Construction. So guys, I know I saw you pop on there for just a second, and I'll let you unmute, get ready to present for us here. We're going to have you go ahead and introduce yourselves and introduce the activity you did for the Build My Future event today, when you are ready.
Yeah, hi, good morning. I'm John Baker with Merritt Construction. I'm accompanied with Chris Hutchinson and Louis Ruggio, who will be in here shortly. We all three participated in the video. I've been with Merritt Construction for about 22 years. I'm a project manager for Merritt Construction. Chris, you want to?
Sure, yeah, I've been with Merritt just about 6 years here, later this summer. And Louis, he's, I think, about 8. So we've all been around for a little while, but yeah, we for this presentation, we demonstrated how to use a robotic total station, just to show how we go about laying out a building. In this case, it was the floor plan for an operating room, and also the center points for some ceiling mounted equipment.
And Louis just joined us, and Louis, you want to just kind of introduce yourself? And
yeah, my name is Louis Ruggio. I'm a project manager with Merritt Rinderknecht. I would say that the three of us probably are like on the high technology end of our office. We try to get involved in all of the new stuff that comes out. So we wanted to take the opportunity to demonstrate one of the newer things that we have.
And as far as our company, we specialize in commercial construction. So it kind of, what we work on is we'll work on hospitals, schools, churches, warehouses, really kind of what we see out there in the market is really driven by the market. It seems like for a while we built a lot of churches, and then we did a lot of hospital work, and we still do. But then it seems like the trend is going to a lot of warehouses for, just kind of going with the online spectrum. So that's what we specialize in.
Well, thank you, guys. We'll go ahead and play your video here quick, and then we'll have some questions for you following that. Thanks for.
We're with Merritt Construction, and what we want to demonstrate for you today is
the use of a robotic total station. And what the robotic total station does is it helps us lay out a building before we start construction. We use it to lay out the footings, the building walls, the structure, really anything that we need to lay out. We start with a blueprint, and we use that to use the total station to lay out.
In the field, our design team or the survey crew would establish this control point for us in a site layout scenario. If this was inside of a building, we'd have a known wall or some reference point that we would use, but we're just making up a hypothetical one right now just so we have something to start from.
So what we just did is we leveled up the tripod so that the total station is within tolerance. And basically what we did is we just got it leveled and got the level right inside the circle, and now it'll operate.
Here we select where the transit is sitting. So it's sitting on point 1, which is our control point. And then we will be shooting point 3 as our first point. All right.
Oh yeah, it's tracking you. So that's one thing you'll notice is as he moves, the robot is actually, the lens on the robot is following the prism on the pole. So that's how it's finding his location.
So on the screen here, I don't know if you can see, but it's showing you exactly where you are. So like as this slides out, the transit's following it, and the little bullseye is where the prism is. And then as we get closer, it zooms in and it tells us exactly where we need to be in order to be right on the corner there.
So we're just using a marker for this, but in the field you'd obviously have some different surveying materials.
Yep. So we are dead on right now.
Perfect.
Okay, so right now we're going towards point 4, and as soon as we get within the 3-foot radius of the point, the bullseye comes up, and so then it's showing us exactly where we need to land. Right about there.
Plumb up, or you good?
Oh, you're right. Okay. Now for the 3 booms, we don't know where those are going to lay out exactly, so. All right, you want to drop the paper right there?
So in this case, what we're demonstrating laying out is medical equipment that gets mounted on the floor. So it's very important that it gets put in the exact correct spot so that it works properly. And so that's one of the reasons why the precision is so important.
The other part of the precision is over really long distances. You know, a fraction of a degree could end up in several inches or a foot, you know, way far away. So that really helps keep stuff in line.
And so while we're looking at the bullseye, we're also trying to make sure that our prism is staying level so that our point is directly below it.
So what we've just completed is the layout points for the room and the medical equipment. So now that we've got our layout done, we can actually know where to anchor and mount our equipment. So really we use this tool to be able to accurately show where we needed to place the equipment.
So guys, as you look at obviously a super powerful tool, can you comment a little bit on how much this has changed your guys' ability to efficiently get through a process like this? Because I think a lot of people look and say, harkening back to the old school versus new school video that we just saw, you know, that would have been a lot of time to do the math to make sure you hit all those corners properly, and a lot of reliance on existing walls like you had mentioned, Chris. So what does this do for your guys' efficiency in the field, and has it improved your accuracy to a level where you know you've saved a lot for your customers and made it easier on your staff as well?
Yeah, so the robotic total station that's what it really does, is it improves efficiency. I mean, we started out laying out buildings with string lines and batter boards. Or we would have to have a surveyor come on site frequently to lay things out. But with the total station, we can, as long as we've got a couple known points, we can lay anything out. We used to have a two-man total station, which was good, but it required two people to lay out. With the robotic total station, you can literally do it with one person. So it really improves efficiency. I think you guys have that.
Yeah, and the other thing this does is with the old total stations, you had to draw out your plans. And so it was really time consuming to get all of your points set in the total station. And so with this new one, you can upload just the CAD file and then pick your points. You just go through. So it's really nice. I mean, the setup is probably a 10th of the time, and then having one person do it instead of two and take half the amount of time there. So
sure. And from the accuracy standpoint, I don't know, in the last 10 to 15 years, the tolerances on these things have gotten so tight that I can't remember what our rep has told us what the accuracy level is on this one, but it's probably better than a 64. It's really impressive how accurate this is. I mean, in the good old days, people were probably saying 1/4 inch is pretty doggone good. This thing will top that by leaps and bounds.
Absolutely. As far as training goes for something like this, is this something that, again, we're talking to students who are thinking about what their future may entail. Is this something that you guys learn and train on, or have someone come and train you on as far as total station goes? Or how are people trained on how to use a tool like total station?
Historically, with our other total stations, the superintendents are all trained, and then they kind of teach their foremen and their guys how to use them. This one is unique. We've only had it for a few months now, and we had our rep come in and train us on how to use it. The technology it's similar to what the old one was, but just the whole interface is different. So it's kind of it'll have a little bit of a learning curve as we start to roll it out to everybody.
Sure. I would say, for the, quote unquote old school guys, it may be a little bit of a steeper learning curve, but for a younger person coming up through school and stuff now, you see toddlers that can pick up a tablet and do more about them than I can. So there's a lot of stuff on here that's pretty self-intuitive for somebody that's a little more tech savvy or just accustomed to, living in this world, in 2021. So I think from that standpoint, someone could grasp onto it a lot quicker than you may actually think.
Absolutely. It's a pretty quick learning tool. I mean, it's not like a several days strung out with training seminars. I mean, it's catch on to it pretty quick after you have a good half hour, 45 minutes of training, and then keep kind of picking up things as you go.
Absolutely. Well, guys, we do appreciate your time on here. Any last comments you want to make to the students who are part of the Build My Future event today?
No, I just want to say, thanks for having us, and we were glad to do it. And we're just, all for trying to get the younger generation excited and to be in construction. It's a really in-demand field, and we just think there's a lot of great opportunities in the construction field.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So again, make sure, guys, another plug here to these groups, a couple of things. Make sure if you do have any questions, make sure you're putting those comments out in the YouTube chat function for these folks so that we can get those asked to anyone that we're talking with during the presentation. Additionally, Merit is as well as a company I'm sure that you can reach out to about job shadows, internship opportunities. As you get into high school and you're exploring more, again, get with your counselors who can put you in touch, or get in touch through the ACE portal that we'll be talking about here in just a second. To have some opportunities to meet up with these folks and learn more about their organization. So Merit team and Rinderknecht team, thank you for being a part of this today. We appreciate it.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So next, we just want to quick talk to you again about, so Joe Greathouse at the beginning, he had mentioned to you the ACE portal. And so the ACE portal is a website at www.explore-ace.org. And so the great part about the website is that it takes, you'll take this interest inventory, which is kind of like a personality assessment when you're in 8th grade. And what this site does is that it takes all personality traits that you get from that, and then kind of shows you different careers all throughout the architecture, construction, and engineering fields that kind of potentially pair with those personality traits. So the basic idea behind it is pretty much no matter what kind of person you are, interests you have, what your personality is like, there should be some kind of career in the ACE fields for you. So please go check that out if you're interested. Again, it's www.explore-ace.org. And if there are any questions that go unanswered today, there will be a way that you can submit your questions to your teachers or counselors, and then they can get them to us. So then we can in turn get all of your questions answered, whether it's today during the event or following.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So it looks like we got Aaron McGlynn here, but Derek's also going to give a quick thank you to the National Housing Endowment. So Derek.
Yes, absolutely. So up next, we have Aaron with the National Housing Endowment, and the National Housing Endowment is dedicated to the development of the residential construction workforce through education, training, and research. Supported programs include construction management in universities and 2-year colleges, trades training programs in high schools, and activities introducing students at all levels to careers in home building. It's an important national vehicle for addressing industry concerns and has awarded thousands of grants totaling more than $15 million in support of housing-related projects nationwide. The National Housing Endowment is a huge support of ACE's programs, including today's presentation, Build My Future. So here we have a video.
So my name's Aaron McGlynn. Honestly, I always tell people I wear about 2 or 3 different hats in life. I am a cabinet maker by trade. I work for a custom home builder. We build custom homes, and then we've got a cabinet shop. So I've been running that for about 13, 14 years, 3 to 4 employees. I'm kind of self-taught in that aspect, but we do everything from building cabinets, daily countertops, trim, millwork packages, that type of thing. And then beyond that, about 3 years ago, I got roped into teaching part-time at Kirkwood. So I teach ACE, which is Architecture, Construction, Engineering. Teach a handful of high school kids every day. So that's been fun. And then the third hat that I wear is being part of the Home Builders Association. I'm on our local, state, and national board of directors. So I get to see stuff from a very local level in the Iowa City, Cedar Rapids area. State level being over in Des Moines, we usually have a couple meetings a year. And then usually 2 to 3 times a year, we've got a convention or 2 that I'll fly or travel to nationally. Washington, D.C., Portland, Oregon, some other neat places. So National Housing Endowment, one thing they wanted me to mention, they're a huge supporter of these type of events, either in Iowa, nationally. There's a huge shortage right now of skilled labor. There's probably at least 300,000 jobs that are available in the skilled trades, whether you're a carpenter, electrician, plumber, bricklayer. To be honest, most of the people that are in those positions, they're a little bit older than I am. They're retiring, they're getting out of the workforce, and we don't have enough youth to fill those positions back in. So our mission the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years has been to really educate the youth, let them know that there's good paying positions in these jobs, you can make a great living, and you can get a job, hit the ground running, and really your future's yours, no matter how hard you want to work at it, you know, you can go a lot of places. So you can definitely find out more information on that, nationalhousingendowment.org. Lots of information, your Kirkwoods, your community colleges, your ACE programs, all those programs are excellent for a youth getting into the trades. As an instructor, I would say to any student, if you're interested in any of the building trades, talk to your guidance counselor, talk to your parents, talk to somebody at the local home builders association. There's so many people out there right now advocating for these jobs, these positions. They can definitely steer you in a good direction. I know just in the last few weeks, I've had 2 or 3 students, past students. I've got a job shadow right now with Workplace Learning Connection. 3 or 4 of these kids all ask me about them specifically, and being in this industry and the networking that we do, we can get those kids in, down a really good path and with some really good people, and just give them experience. You know, a lot of these kids, they may think they want to do one thing, it may not be what they want to do, but they're never going to know until they experience that.
Well, Aaron, thank you. And if you want, go ahead and unmute yourself if you could, because it's about your time for your second hurrah here as part of Cabinet Works too. So thanks for being here with us today. Introduce yourself if you could, and introduce your video and what you're going to be doing for your activity, please.
Aaron McGlynn, Cabinet Works in Wellman, Iowa, and also Mellinger & Sons Construction. I kind of already spilled the beans on my first little presentation there, so I don't know what else to say, but what I'll be doing here is assembling a cabinet. We're a custom cabinet shop. Again, I've been here about 14 years. We build a lot of custom homes, so we build a lot of cabinetry for those homes. We've got some multifamily things that we do. One thing I always tell people, if you were to come to our shop, and I've watched a few of the previous videos, the old school versus new school, we're still a little bit old school. We're a little bit antiquated in our equipment. We've got a lot of old machinery, so it actually makes it fun. We have to do a little bit more measuring and math and building templates, and that's a part that I enjoy. I will say though that the construction industry is getting very technical. Like you just saw the one with their total station. There's places for everybody in that industry, whether you're doing some, again, kind of running some older equipment or newer equipment. So, that's what we do. I'm going to show an example of building a cabinet here. So if you guys want to roll that, we'll do that. So my name's Aaron McGlynn. I'm the general manager of Cabinet Works in Wellman, Iowa. We're a small family-owned cabinet shop. We're owned by another gentleman. He's a general contractor. We build custom homes. We build some multifamily. So I've been there about 14 years. I get in on a lot of the day-to-day operation with the custom home building, but my kind of specialty is the cabinet end. So what I brought today is just a little cabinet sample I wanted to show you guys on how that process would work. If we had a customer come to us, either maybe wanting to remodel a kitchen, bathroom, or maybe build a new house and want us to build cabinets for them, we'd get their ideas. We'd start with a little drawing. I don't know how well you can see that, but we'd start with, kind of a nice little drawing on representation, what it would look like. And then we're gonna get a drawing that looks more like this. This is called a layout. It's got some dimensions on it, measurements. So for any of you students that don't like math, it's not hard math, pretty simple math, but you do have to use some math. In the construction trades, we're, basically trying to figure out how wide these cabinets are, how tall they are, etc. And then what I would do is take this cabinet drawing, break everything down into individual cabinets. So I made just a little to scale drawing to show you how that might look. Different parts and pieces of each one of these cabinets. So I've got cabinet sides, cabinet back, floors, and a door. I'll be honest with you, we're a small shop. We don't use a lot of technology, maybe like some of the bigger shops do. We're still fairly antiquated. We use some older machinery. We do a lot of things by hand. I enjoy that, maybe a little bit more work, but we do a lot of one-of-a-kind pieces where to use a CNC machine, that type of thing, it wouldn't pay for us to use that type of equipment because we'd be spending more time on setup than actually just putting the thing together. So I'll start real quick. I don't know how well this will go with me trying to hold all this and do this. I've never built one of these, from scratch like this without glue or a nail gun. I'm just gonna try and screw it. But what I've done is I've taken that cabinet, I've done some math on it, and I've cut a handful of pieces. So right here, I've got my cabinet back. I'm probably going to start with that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my top or my lid. I'm going to put that right in there. All these grooves in here, they're called dados. They're just a series of notches that really help that cabinet hold together. And you can see, you know, I'm just trying to put this together with some screws. Again, I would normally nail that, but I don't really even have to use a measuring tape on this. I've done everything already. If I can get this, I think I've got it backwards. But not a whole lot of measuring once you get to this point, because everything's already pretty much pre-cut and pre-drilled. So I'll run that screw in there. I've got my lid on. I'll move over to my floor bottom. It took me about 15 minutes, 20 minutes tops to cut the parts and pieces for this. So even though I said we're not very automated, still pretty quick when you've got a really good system of putting some of these things together. So right here you can see I've got my side on now. I'll take and run a couple screws into that. Now all these cabinets, you know, some of them could be the same size, some of them might be different sizes. It really just depends on the job, what the customer may want. Some may be painted, some may be stained. There's really no right or wrong anymore in the field of cabinetry. Our shop's probably a little bit different too. Most of the cabinets that people have in their houses would have been ordered from maybe a large factory. Maybe you go through a Menards or Lowe's or a Home Depot, something like that. We're a little bit different because we order in our lumber fairly rough and machine it all down to what would end up being the finished sizes. So you see how quick that went. I've got my back on, I've got my sides, I've got my floors. I'm going to put what's called a toe kick on with just a couple screws. And that's so when you're sweeping up against something, you don't get a bunch of dirt and debris underneath that. Then to finish it up, I'm going to put on what's called the face frame. I've already got my door attached just for simplicity purposes, but face frame, I've got a series of notches in the back of that that will slip over the top of that. Your face frame is what holds everything together. You can see I don't have a drawer in here. If I wanted the drawer, I would have put another board across there. Could have installed a drawer. So I'm going to lay this over the top of that. And you can see how if you've got your notches just right, everything just kind of slides together. Now, I got to run that screw in a little further. There we go. So I've got that fit. Again, if I was doing this in a shop setting, I'd be using some nailers, some glue. I probably wouldn't have these parts and pieces sliding around on me. But for the purposes of what we're doing today, I figured it'd just be easy to run some screws in it. And that way I can actually take it apart and use it again if I want to show somebody later on in life. So I've got my frame on. I've already installed my hinges. Got my door, a little knob on it, and voila. Cabinet by cabinet works.
Aaron, pretty impressive, and thank you for putting that video together for us. You know, it is pretty unique what you said, you know, about cabinet making. It's one of those art forms, right, that a lot of times there's large factories slamming through lots of cabinetry and millwork. And this kind of brings a bit of that art and really the history of cabinet making back to that trade. So there's a lot of folks that do want that quality of what you get. What are some of the skills that people can learn? You know, if there's young people like we're talking to today and they have an interest in doing anything, whether it's carpentry or cabinet making, and skills that you guys need for employing new people, what are things that they can be doing to put themselves in a position to be ready to look at a career with a company like CabinetWorks?
You know, I think the biggest things, a little bit of simple math, and I mentioned that none of the math we do is too awful hard. One of the other things, just really being able to get along with people. We always, you know, you hear the term soft skills, and I think some of that isn't taught well enough anymore. Just being able to get along with others, work as a team, I mentioned I teach a class, actually a construction class at Kirkwood, and some of the work we've been doing recently, we're building a small garden shed, and it's been super fun. Some of the work is individually, some of it's teamwork and brainstorming, and maybe something doesn't work right, and you've got to think outside the box a little bit. So those are really good skills. And then just, I think attention to detail, and that comes with time and practice and learning what you're doing. I think anybody can really be taught as long as they're willing to learn. And I enjoy kids that are, kind of like a sponge that you can just teach. I know some of the previous videos they asked about what kind of training you need. Hodge talked about on-the-job training. We would do the same thing. I would almost rather have somebody with no experience, so I feel like I could teach them the way I would want them to learn, than maybe having somebody come in with some bad habits to start with. That kind of sounds bad. But really just a willingness to learn and work hard too.
Absolutely. As you look at skills that you've got, I mean, obviously you must employ a wide range of employees. Do you guys do everything from designing the cabinetry to making it to installing it? I mean, what range of careers do you have within Cabinet Works that might be of interest to students?
We do. So we've got 3 full-time guys in our shop. And I mentioned before, we build custom homes also. So we've got 3 guys that really stay in our cabinet shop, and then we've got another couple guys that are job site guys. So sometimes I don't see those job site, guys for a couple weeks. Sometimes they're in here. Say it starts raining out and we've got to find some work for them. They may have to flip and transition right into here. So we've got, those people. We've got a designer that we work with that will meet with customers, clients. I always call it kind of the pretty stuff, do the colors and the styles and that thing. And then I really have to work with all those people. So as the manager, I've got to, have good relationships with all those people, be able to work with the customer. If maybe the designer has some questions for me, she can pop in and say, hey, can you help me out with this? So we do have a wide range of employees. Most of our employees are a little bit older, in mid-40s. They're at least our age. And I think everybody's looking for some younger people to step in and take some of those roles, so we can keep some of these trades and professions going. I think to be a custom cabinet builder in this day and age is probably kind of a rare thing. I look a lot on social media, your Instagrams and things like that. And there's some other guys out there doing what we're doing, but it's kind of getting to be a lost art. The guy that started this, he started this place back in the 60s. And to have a small operation like this still going, I think is pretty neat. You want to see this every day. There are a handful of shops in Iowa City that just in the last maybe 5 years have shut down. So it's a good place to be, because there is a need for it. And, with not a lot of competition, we can get some pretty good work.
Go ahead, Derek.
Well, and Aaron, I think you kind of leading in perfectly to my next question here for you before we go on to our next segment. But can you speak to students a bit about, you mentioned there's a lot of different, manufacturing and kind of large scale, cabinetry makers, and just kind of today's world with everything seeming to be trending a lot more towards automation and mass production. Can you talk a little bit about, even if that's the case, why it's important to have kind of that foundational knowledge of how things work and how to build things by hand before we get to that level of automation?
I really think it just gives you a better understanding of your finished product. Years ago, we hired a gal as a designer. She had really no training in the design, field, and she kind of learned that, but it was kind of interesting for her. Sometimes she'd pop out into our shop and help us build things. She's moved on, and I know she's over in Des Moines now, but years later, she told me, she said that little bit of what we were able to teach her on the shop side and the construction end of it, the assembly end of it, helped her so much just in her design work to give her a better understanding of how things went together, why you have to do this, why you have to do that. So I do think whether a cabinet's built in a shop, whether a house is panelized and built in the shop, you've got to have that core understanding of the parts and pieces, square, straight, plumb, and you're really good, just your critical measurements to put something together as a good finished product in the end.
Absolutely. Well, Aaron, we really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us today, both with the National Housing Endowment and with Cabinet Works, and sharing your experience with these students. Thank you again. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
All right, next we have Ashley Grimm to talk to you about Kirkwood's driving simulator. And so Ashley, if you could introduce yourself.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ashley Grimm. I support the transportation programs here at Kirkwood Community College, specifically commercial truck driving, so Class A, Class B, also school bus, and motorcycle and moped.
Thanks very much, Ashley. And before we play the video, can you talk a little bit about how the transportation program connects to ACE?
Yeah, so in any world, any industry, you know, there's parts and things that have to get from one location to another, and that is surrounded by transportation. And so as far as architecture, construction, and engineering, you know, who's getting those products to your building site? That would be transportation. Anything from what goes into making the project. So, you know, your wood, the cement, anything like that for parts, as well as the items that are going in. So if you're building an office building, let's say, well, then you have transportation that has to bring all your office chairs and your tables and computers. And so everything is surrounded by the transportation industry. And there's so many more hands than just the drivers that make that happen. We have folks in logistics that are planning those loads to get to and from location A to B on time. And, you know, we have folks in marketing as well, and folks in HR as well. So there's so many different careers within the transportation industry, dispatchers that are helping get products from point A to point B.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for that.
Hello and welcome to the Kirkwood Transportation Commercial Truck Driving Classroom. My name is Ashley Grimm. I am here to talk to you about the simulator and the programs that we offer here and how truck driving relates to architecture, construction, and engineering. I support the Kirkwood Transportation programs as well as the ICR Transportation Sector Board. So how does transportation relate to ACE? Well, how do things get from point A to point B? If you're at a construction site, you need things to get to your construction site. If you are working on an engineering project, you need materials to get to that project site. Some of you may order from Amazon or have parents that order from Amazon. How does that package get from when you clicked and hit ship that order to me to your doorstep? It all revolves around transportation and a truck getting it in some way, shape, or form to your doorstep. At Kirkwood, if you are interested, we have a couple different options of how you could become a truck driver or get into the transportation industry. We offer a 4-week Class A CDL, which allows you to operate a semi, anything over 26,000 pounds, so a semi-tractor trailer and beyond. And we also offer a 1-week course for Class B, which allows you to operate something like a dump truck or a little bit smaller type of commercial vehicle. So if you're interested, you can contact me, Ashley Grimm. My phone number is 319-398-7130, or you can also email me at ashley.grimm, G-R-I-M-M, @kirkwood.edu. So why do we have this awesome simulator that you see in the background? I'd like to tell you more about that. It has been an asset to our classroom to have for our students. It helps with shifting for those that may be a little nervous getting into such a large vehicle. We offer the option to practice here on the simulator. They can learn how to shift the vehicle. They can learn how to drive in different weather conditions. They can see what it feels like to drive distracted or under the influence. They can drive in rural areas. They can practice in tight city areas. So it is very beneficial to our students to allow them to practice and hear and get comfortable before going out to the road and experiencing the real world. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to allow you guys to see my instructor Clarence demonstrate the simulator, and we're going to show you the ice and snow weather conditions. It's important that you understand how much time it takes a semi to stop. It takes the length of 2 football fields for a semi to be able to stop when they are traveling at interstate speeds of 65 miles per hour or more. So, you know, your patience while you young drivers are on the road is extremely important so that you can understand they don't have automatic brakes to just easily stop if you cut them off. So please be patient and be mindful of our semi truck drivers that are out there. I also want to show you what it's like driving distracted. You think that responding to a quick text message is very quick and easy to do and doesn't distract you, but you will see here that it does distract you and could cause a very serious, unsafe incident. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to bring Clarence my cell phone. And Clarence just received a text message, so I'm going to have him try and respond to a text message.
I just hit him.
So Clarence just hit the motorcyclist.
Yep.
And that was within probably 10 seconds or less, looking down at the phone trying to respond. His hands became off the wheel. He's trying to shift the vehicle. So again, another very dangerous situation. Imagine a motorcyclist going up against a semi. I don't think that cyclist is gonna survive. Now we're going to experience the weather condition of ice. Do you try to make a quick stop, Clarence? In this example, I have Clarence on the ice. So you can see that he wasn't able to stop immediately. Again, you saw another motorcyclist. You probably won't see that in the snow very often, but in this case, we can put that example in there for our drivers to be used to for that sudden movement, sudden reaction. You have to react and think quickly. I'm going to switch it to have you under the influence in broad daylight, Clarence.
I gotta do what the simulator says. It says I gotta play.
Okay.
I got so many seconds to do it. What it did, well, this is bad, is pulled me all my scores from what I've messed up. Speed management, I've got 6 warnings. Clutch riding, I got 5 warnings. I stalled the engine once. Gave me a score of 76 out of 100, which is a fail.
And what is a passing grade, Clarence?
80%. You gotta have 80% to pass. There's a lot of different scenarios. We got mountains. This was all distraction on the city and what we actually go through.
So Clarence, I'm gonna load it one more time, and I'm going to have it as though you are under the influence and give the students a view of what that looks like. You are intoxicated at the moment. Clarence is experiencing a lot of difficulty operating the truck right now because he is under the influence. So it's showing what it's like with a driver under the influence and how hard and difficult it is to control this vehicle here. There's a lot of distractions going on. He's got to be able to see what's coming up ahead of him, to the right and left of him. There goes a car that he likely probably would have hit. Well, Clarence, thank you for being the demonstration today of the simulator. Again, we hope that you all enjoyed the video today, and if you're ever interested in coming and checking it out, feel free to stop in at Kirkwood Continuing Education and Training Center. We'd be happy to give you a tour of our facility and show you a little bit more about the class and what type of careers that this could lead to for your future. So thank you.
Well, thanks very much, Ashley. And that is just a fascinating tool for students to learn with. We do have a student question that came through wondering if these jobs will be at next year's presentation.
Yeah, so, you know, these careers are always open and there's a heavy demand for truck drivers. But, you know, our simulator is not mobile, unfortunately. However, I would love, you know, if the Build My Future is at the Kirkwood Continuing Education and Training Center, we could definitely work it out to have students come test out the simulator.
Awesome. Then just a couple more quick questions for you. As far as getting a CDL, what kind of age requirements are there? And also with that, once you have a CDL, what does the job market look like for that?
Sure. So in order to get your commercial driver's license, you must be 18 years old. But at 18, you can drive within the state that you reside. So you can drive within the state of Iowa if you get your commercial driver's license up until age 21, and then you can cross state lines. In order to obtain your license, you have to start with your getting your commercial learner's permit. And that's just 3 written exams that you'll take at the DMV. For Class A, you'll take general knowledge, air brakes, and combination vehicle. For Class B, you'll take general knowledge, air brakes, and then if you want to do something like maybe a passenger bus, then you'll want to get the passenger endorsement as well. Then once you obtain your permit, you get to go to obtain a DOT long form physical, as well as a pre-employment drug screen, and then you can come to Kirkwood and take the class, the training class here. For Class B, it is 1 week long, Monday through Friday. For Class A, it is 4 weeks long. Our classes are Monday through Friday from 6 in the morning until 4 in the afternoon, and then Saturdays from 7 until 1. And there's 3 Saturdays. The last week, you only go until Friday. And we do have 1 night of night driving where you'll drive in the dark, just so that you can get that experience. But we do have long days just for students to get a realistic picture of what it's like in the day of being a truck driver. So that's why our classes start at 6 and don't end until 4.
Awesome. And then finally, the Transportation Sector Board holds their annual event, the Rolling Rally. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So in June, typically this year, it's looking more like it'll be in the fall, but historically it's been in June, and we have about 40 different transportation vehicles on display for the community to come out and touch, explore, see, get a hands-on view of what it's like in all those different careers within the industry. So we have anything from a fire truck and EMT to a tractor in the field, to a semi tractor trailer, to the DOT snow plows. We've had the city of Cedar Rapids here with their sewer robot. So you get to see what the inside of their truck looks like and get a hands-on feel of the little robot that goes down in the sewers when they're checking those out. And we have several different construction vehicles as well. So lots of fun. We have a coloring contest that we put on. The winners get their artwork featured on the semi. So if you happen to see that around, definitely give us a wave. And other than that, we have lots of activities, a supply chain activity, again, giving the understanding of how a product gets from point A to point B. So we actually did from items in the field planted to being picked to being put together to then in the grocery store. So I think what we did was like a granola bar last time, but lots of giveaways, lots of fun, food, activities. So if you do happen to see advertising for the Roll and Rally this fall, please stop out and join us.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Ashley. We really appreciate your time for joining us today.
Thanks. You all have a good day.
You too. All right, next, we have Becky Weininger from the Kirkwood Community College Apprenticeships and Earn and Learn Opportunities. And so welcome, Becky. If you would introduce yourself, what you do, and what your video is about.
Sure. I'm Becky Weininger. I work at Kirkwood helping as a project manager with all of our apprenticeship programs. Our apprenticeship programs have been growing pretty rapidly. We're hitting all the different industries in the area. Right now, in the construction area, we have a construction-focused apprenticeship program, and then we also have an HVAC apprenticeship, as well as we do have truck driving and diesel mechanics. So quite a few options that hit into ACE areas. One of the important things I think I would love for students to know about apprenticeships is that there's really a couple different ways you can look at how that could be a solution for a pathway into the career of your choice. You might be a person who would want to do hands-on working right out of school and earning money. This would give you that opportunity to start those skills, but then also include classes as you're going through this career path to help you gain knowledge as well. And then on the other side of it, you may be interested in doing a career that requires education to start with. And there's a lot of the apprenticeship programs that they do require some education. And this is a way to get you with a company that wants to actually hire you and have you working with them once your education's completed. And so they may help or even completely pay for school during that time. So as you're getting further along in your career exploration, you may see that apprenticeships are something you want to look into as that solution to help you maybe get to school, or maybe because you're looking to get started as soon as possible. So this can really be a way to do both of those things. I think unless there's any questions, we can go ahead and play the video.
So apprenticeships are a wonderful pathway for students that allow them to work concurrently in the field while they're learning the academic content.
As an employer, we have the opportunity to select employees, send them for additional schooling, and reap the benefit of them getting more education. The first year is very general, the second year is a little more specific, and by the third year, we as employers will tell Kirkwood what portions we want our students to learn. One thing that's big about this apprenticeship is that the employer pays the cost. So a student in the real world should be able to go through an apprenticeship and be earning a living and not be incurring student debt. I think that's huge.
My name is Stefan Krau, and I'm a carpenter's apprentice, and I'm really enjoying it. Getting paid to learn is great. If you want to learn some skills that you can charge for, I highly recommend being an apprentice of any kind, because these skills transfer all over the place.
The program itself, I think it's a win-win for everybody, because I want to teach my young apprentices how I want them to do what I want them to do. And the students find value by getting an education, working hands-on, one-on-one with an employer that's teaching them a trade.
So a huge benefit of the way the Construction Technologist Apprenticeship Program has been built is to offer students an additional pathway after they complete their apprenticeship. If a student is interested in one of our 2-year AAS programs, they could go into the architectural technology. They could also look at the construction management program. We could also look at 4-year options.
If you like to learn and you like to be active and entertained and engaged by your job, and you want to make good money at the same time, I would highly suggest going into an apprenticeship program.
Wow, that's really awesome. Becky, a couple questions for you. What age can someone pursue an apprenticeship?
Great. So depending on the apprenticeship, we can take individuals as early as 16. For some of them, they do require you to be 18. So it is just something to, as you're getting closer to pursuing that, you can look and see if you can start it while you're in high school even. So.
Excellent. And do they have to already be hired, or will you help them connect with companies that are looking for apprentices?
I actually will connect them with companies that are hiring for the apprenticeship that they are interested in. So we're always looking to help make that connection for businesses and students.
Awesome. And so apprentices, they'll obviously learn a lot of skills in their training and on the job, but what kind of skills do you need to have before pursuing an apprenticeship?
Right. So it is important. One of the requirements is that even if you are starting while you're in high school, you still need to complete high school. And then, of course, we're looking for that person that is really willing to come to work, really willing to give everything a chance and really expand their learning. So being really open to what you're learning about is very important. I'm kind of sounding like I think I've been hearing it throughout the presentation today. I am seeing a common theme. So definitely showing up, being dedicated, and willing to try.
Sure. And so you talked about the construction technologist apprenticeship. Are there other ACE career apprenticeships?
Right. So we actually have a heating and cooling apprenticeship program as well. And then we also have, we heard Ashley talking about the truck driving. We do have truck driving that's associated with some of our lumber companies. So there's a few out there, and we're constantly growing those apprenticeship programs as well.
Very good. And then another one too is, so how do students learn more about your programs after today?
Right. So right now our website is in the process of getting redone, but we still have information out there, and that's kirkwood.edu/apprenticeships, plural. And then we also, you can reach us at apprenticeships@kirkwood.edu for an email.
Awesome.
Becky, thank you very much for coming on and presenting today on the apprenticeship programs. They're very, very powerful tools, and you guys have done a great job at getting those out there. And like we've seen, there's a number of companies. Woodruff was in there. I know Tim Ruth and his organization have taken advantage of it. So if you are interested, it's a great way to further your career while at the same time keeping that student debt as low as possible and really putting yourself in a great spot for the long term. So Becky, thank you for educating everybody. And again, if there are any questions you have, reminder, go to explore-ace.org. There'll be more information available there as well. And as always, reach out to your school counselors who can help connect you with the folks to get you exposed to this.
And thank you, Becky. We really appreciate your time today.
Awesome. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you. And so with that, we do want to thank our final sponsor of the day today, the Greater Cedar Rapids Housing and Building Association. They're going to have a short video for us. So we're going to kick it off and let them let us know about who they are and what they do.
I'm Jim Sattler with Jim Sattler Custom Homes. We design and build, and we do remodeling and renovations. And since the storm, we do a lot of restoration rebuilding from the storm damage. But this year I am president of the local Home Builders Association, which covers Cedar Rapids, Marion, Hiawatha, Lynn County area. Well, our local association has been sponsoring this program since it started, and we work with getting some other funds through the National Association of Home Builders. We just think it's a good career path that a lot of people should consider. And so we're supporting the training and the introduction of these trades and of these management positions. And with that, we'd like to think that they can come to our association, work with some of the employers in our community, and advance their career. And I think they have some good potential earning opportunities as well as some good career paths. Well, there's mechanical, there's certainly carpentry and general construction. There's also maintenance programs that they can get into. And the Kirkwood program is also involving in management and in other forms of general administrative construction work. So there are a number of different paths they can go on, and I think the Kirkwood program is a great starting point to kick off into any of those different directions. Well, I think after being introduced to the program here at the facility, and then obviously if they go ahead and get involved, their next step would be to contact our association. We keep a list of the openings and the opportunities. We have different companies that are looking for different positions to be filled. So I think communicating with Melissa at the Cedar Rapids Home Builders Association would be a good starting point, but also the administrative people at Kirkwood, so the consular people and the people that are running the program can be also very helpful in directing them towards these positions that need to be filled. And some of these opportunities, they can do internships. Obviously, the goal would be to get them permanent employment in the community and start off into their great career path. We're proud to be a sponsor of the program. We believe in it. We think it's a good starting point, and it introduces the students to what's available and what's out there so that they can get a taste of the career and if they like it. So I think it's a good starting point. We're obviously pleased and proud to participate and to sponsor the program. We look forward to next year where there will be hands-on program again. I think that is much more beneficial, obviously, if they can participate physically and observe and be involved as opposed to the virtual. But obviously, this is the path this year. But no, we're very proud to be a part of it, and I think the program has been successful.
So we want to thank Jim Sattler and the Greater Cedar Rapids Housing and Building Association for their contribution to this event. And again, we'll echo his sentiment that we hope we can be together with you and doing this in person in the future when it's safe to do so. With that, I'll throw it back here to Derek for someplace near and dear to your heart.
Absolutely. So I'm Derek Powers. I'm an architectural associate and digital media manager for Gardner Architecture. We've got 2 offices, one here in Marion and then one up in Strawberry Point. We are a full service design firm. And we have architecture, landscape architecture, interior design, project management as some of our base careers. We service all different types of project sectors and go all the way from preliminary and programming all the way through construction administration. And we like to think of ourselves as community members who love problem solving through design. And we really love being here to work in design in Eastern Iowa.
I'm Jeff Reinhardt from West Plains Engineering here in Cedar Rapids. We're a mechanical, electrical, plumbing design firm with offices, like I said, in Cedar Rapids and North and South Dakota and Wyoming as well. A lot of times we work for companies like Gardner, an architecture company, and design the mechanical, electrical, plumbing systems in a building, which can be lighting, power, fire alarm, heating and cooling, plumbing, systems like that.
And I'm Chris Heyman. I'm with West Plains Engineering as well as an electrical designer.
And the video we're about to show you today is kind of a collaboration between West Plains and Gardner. And so we're here to talk to you a bit about kind of the history of drafting and kind of how that has evolved over time.
Well, thanks for joining us today. My name is Derek Powers. I'm an architectural associate and digital media manager at Gardner Architecture at our Marion office.
I'm Jeff Reinhardt from West Plains Engineering here in Cedar Rapids. We're a mechanical, electrical, plumbing design firm.
And I'm Chris Heyman. I'm also with West Plains Engineering. So
I'm going to explain a little bit about the progression of how construction plans have evolved over the years. I started in the business in 1991, and then at that time, primarily plans were done with a CAD or a computer-aided drafting software. That came out in the 80s and was highly used in the 80s. Before that, the predominant way to have the plans produced was through manual or hand drafting. That was used with architects would draw the building by hand on a clear sheet of paper called Mylar, and they would draw in the walls, the doors, everything that goes into the building. They would give it to us as the mechanical, electrical, plumbing designer. We would take another sheet of clear paper and put it on top of that, and then draw our heating and cooling systems, plumbing systems, lighting, electrical systems on top of that. We would then take that together and run it through a blue line machine, and we would end up with something that looked like this. The lines would come out as white and the background would come out as blue, and that's why they were called blue lines back in the day. This was a very tedious manual process. When changes came about, we had to kind of repeat the process. Erasing was a challenge. You'd use motorized erasers, and sometimes erasing would actually take longer than redrawing it. So that was the first kind of generation with manual drafting. Back in the mid-'80s, they came out with computer-aided drafting. AutoCAD is a common software used for that. And the process was similar. The architect would draw the building up and give it to us. We would draw our systems on top of their floor plan to show it, but it was all done in the computer. So it was a lot easier to change. It was a lot easier to make the plans look a lot better and cleaner, I guess. So here's an example of a library we did with Derek's firm here about 4 years ago. It was done in AutoCAD software. You can see, they printed out black and white like we typically see prints these days, no more blue lines, but it was a lot cleaner to read. Everything just is a lot more crisper because it's computer generated.
So as engineers and architects transitioned from hand drafting to computer-aided drafting, the next step in the evolution of drafting really comes a little while ago, where we go from CAD, from computer-aided drawing, like from a technology like AutoCAD, into something that's a lot more component-based drafting. So really what that means is, instead of like drawing on your computer like with AutoCAD, that's really just drawing lines on a computer like you would on a piece of paper. With component-based modeling, or building information modeling, or BIM, as you'll hear is a common term in the industry, is it's component-based, and so you can draw entire wall assemblies, roof assemblies, an entire floor all at once. And so it saves a lot of time in terms of production and input, and allows for a lot more changes down the road.
After that, after receiving the architectural model from the architect, as engineers, we go through that model. We see how much room we have in terms of ceiling space, wall heights for things. We try to coordinate anything and everything from casework desks, in terms of outlet heights, switch heights, thermostats, anything that goes into a building, you name it.
So in our industry, now that a lot of different companies are predominantly using BIM or component-based modeling, we're even seeing a lot of more future technologies starting to be implemented. So things that will be more commonplace a few years down the road, we're seeing that right now on different construction sites and in different projects. So an example of that would be like entire digital models being used like on the project site. So instead of having a traditional printed set of drawings and some printed specifications for contractors to reference for a build, oftentimes we'll even see more commonly that just somebody hands over, or the architect hands over a flash drive to a contractor, or an engineer's hand over a flash drive. And so the entire building model will just then be used on site for use for construction. Another part of that are two other things, such as VR and AR, or virtual reality and augmented reality. And so there will actually be another video talking about those more in depth, but the great thing about virtual reality and augmented reality is that it gives a lot more ability for architects and engineers to work together to visualize the entire building design beforehand, where you can actually put a headset on like Microsoft HoloLens, that is augmented reality, be able to actually project a portion of a room into a space such as this, so you can walk around and experience it a lot more. Virtual reality is also very commonplace, and at Martin Gardner Architecture we actually use virtual reality quite a bit. So we'll put on our Oculus Rift headset, is the one that we use, and we can actually walk around our Revit models and be able to point out a lot of instances that we need to work on, or just kind of understand a space a little bit more. And so those are kind of some of the more emerging technologies that we're starting to see today. So a project that Martin Gardner Architecture and West Plains Engineering got to collaborate on was the Kelowna Community Center just down the road in Kelowna here in Iowa. And so what that project was, it was a renovation and addition project from their community center. So that included things from their city hall, their city offices, council chambers, a YMCA facility that was run for their community center, a youth center, a chiropractic office, and even a sheriff's office. So that was a really interesting project for us to work on, especially since it was an addition and a renovation of an older building. And so it was a great example of how we got to use Revit as a platform for West Plains and MGA to work together to collaborate on for our portions of the project.
A large portion of this project was a gymnasium which didn't have any finished ceilings in it, so all of the lighting, all of the ductwork and piping was all exposed in the space and you could see it. So it was very important to get that coordinated with not only those utilities, but the structure and the other architectural components, since everything was visible. And that's where the BIM software really helped, and the AR and the VR capabilities helped being able to visualize what the building looked like, and also to prevent clashes, which Chris will talk about.
With clash detection, this was very important on this job as it was a remodel. Obviously, we want to keep everyone safe as can be as they're going through this building and adding on to these additions. When we're designing, we want to continue what was already there, but also meet the needs of the space, both with the architecture and structure. As you're going through, we want to make sure that no electrical lines or plumbing lines or anything is going to run into another system. Plus, we want to be rather accurate with these items, as later down the road, we want, if there's another remodel or renovation done to the building, that we have that's accessible to those future contractors.
So if you're at home and wondering what you can do to get into building information modeling and drafting in general, there's a few resources out there that you can use that are free or very low cost to students and schools alike. So things like SketchUp, which is something that we use every day. There's a free version of that available online and for download. There's also different student licenses from companies like Autodesk that make Revit and AutoCAD and some other engineering programs. And then also Adobe, so Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, those are all great tools for you to be able to use, and there are definitely some student licenses out there if you want to give it a try.
Pretty slick tool. Pretty slick tool. So as you guys are working with this and these tools and you're looking at students, what are some of the easiest things they can do in order to try and implement devices? Because it is incredibly important that future construction is this foresight and planning. What are some easy ways for them to get introduced to tools like SketchUp and Autodesk? SketchUp seems like the lowest barrier to entry for anyone because it's something you can just load on your desktop, your laptop, whatever you have.
Right.
But what are some recommendations you have for getting that up and going and just messing around, having fun, and understanding a bit of the beginnings of what BIM is all about?
Yeah, exactly. I think so. Again, like to the point of SketchUp, it's this free 3D modeling program. And the great thing about SketchUp is that you really can design or draw whatever you want. You even have like a 3D online library where you can download an entire model. So it doesn't have to be necessarily about architecture or engineering. And kind of relating to how you could, being students, kind of trying to figure out what you want to do if you're interested in this. Just like, it's great to try to just sketch things by hand and just try and be creative, think outside the box. Like if you're into music, maybe you try to draw a stage or something, or if you're into landscaping, maybe you can draw something kind of like that. And so being able to have those resources that are even just on a web browser, so you might be able to use it through equipment at school or even at home, that becomes really useful, because then you can start to kind of feel out what, if that kind of aligns with your interests. And since drafting technology and 3D modeling is not just really unique to architecture, construction, and engineering, it's one of those kind of skill sets and also kind of thought processes that you can take with you to so many different careers, whether it's in ACE or not.
So could you guys tell me, Jeff and Chris specifically, could you guys talk a little bit about the education required to work in your guys' field? Talk about any of the particulars as far as subject matter. I mean, do you guys have to know everything about the subject of mechanical or electrical engineering in order to work in that field? Or is it something you can utilize across those disciplines?
Yeah, there's kind of two career paths, I guess, that we see our designers in. The first one is getting a 4-year degree in engineering in either electrical or mechanical engineering through a 4-year accredited college, Iowa State, Kansas State, or some popular options around here. After you work under a professional engineer for 4 years, you can take your professional engineering test. And if you pass, then you can be a professional engineer where you can actually sign the drawings. Another route is to get a 2-year degree through like an architectural technology program or a CAD engineering program like Kirkwood offers. We use individuals with that background for our CAD and our Revit, our BIM to produce the drawings. But a lot of times those individuals, if they show an interest in the design side of things, they will kind of get on the job training to turn into designers that do a lot of the same work that the engineers do at our company.
Chris, anything to add to that?
No, I think that pretty much covers it. Yeah, the goals for if you're going through the Kirkwood route, yeah, it would be through drafting. We do a lot of hands-on training when it comes to teaching how all these different systems are integrated, and then it's us as engineers' job to understand the codes so that everyone stays safe and that we're adhering to state and local jurisdiction rules. So.
The cool thing about how architecture and engineering kind of relate is everything that Jeff and Chris just said about licensing and training can pretty much apply to architecture as well. So that's really fun, where you can kind of see that architects and engineers kind of complement each other, and it's kind of just having different backgrounds and specific specialties or building components or systems, but really we all just kind of work together as a team. And so the licensing and training paths are very similar. Whether you took kind of like the most common approach to getting your license in architecture like me, and going straight through from high school to college to a 5-year program at, say, Iowa State, where I went. But you can also take some other routes. And so we have project managers here at Martin Gardner that they had they had their associate's degree, and then they had gained some different experience in the field working at like a truss manufacturer, so like roof framing, and some other companies before coming to Martin Gardner. And so now they do really the exact same thing as our licensed traditionally or traditional path architects do, just minus having the rubber stamp. Which usually only 1 or 2 people in a firm typically would put their stamps on drawings anyway. And so just kind of another example of how you can gain a lot of real world experience to get you to the same endpoint, just depending on which route is best for you.
Fantastic. Well, I know Chris and Jeff, we do have one more segment too that Derek put together for kind of a bonus video that we'll go to. Any last things or comments you guys want to make before we wrap up your guys' segment? I appreciate your time here.
Yeah, real quick, I'd like to, once you get into high school, your sophomore year, through Kirkwood offers a program where you could do a 2 to 4 hour job shadow in our industry or in architectural as well. And then as on your junior and senior year, there's a 45 or a 90-hour internship where we get a little bit more involved, and students are able to do hands-on design, use some of the same software we use, CAD software, the BIM software, heating and cooling calculations, lighting calculations, kind of give a taste of what we do day in and day out. It's very popular. We do get a couple students a year that take part in that. For a little more information on that, when you get into high school, see the counseling office for that, or Kirkwood /workplace-learning-connection has information as well on those programs.
It's a great reminder, and appreciate both of your times, Jeff and Chris, today for hopping on. A great reminder too, this collaborative presentation put together, how important it is. And if you're a person who likes teamwork, who likes solving problems, not just maybe as an individual, but as a team focus, is a great field. Obviously, architecture, construction, engineering, the creation of these facilities that we all live and work and play in every day are really teamwork oriented. So thank you again, Jeff and Chris, appreciate it. And Derek, if you want to kick off and intro this bonus video you've got for us.
You bet. Thanks, you guys. So this last segment just kind of goes a little bit more in depth into virtual reality and augmented reality. And this is just a little bit of a snippet of how we use that today in our company.
Thanks again for joining us. I'm Derek, again with Martin Gardner Architecture, and part of my job as our digital media manager is to work a lot with our virtual reality capabilities and do a lot of our renderings and 3D modeling. So a cool part of that, and one of my favorite things to do, is work with our virtual reality headsets like the Oculus VR that we have here. And so a little bit about the background of VR. You might think about it now in terms of like video games and kind of just fun experiences and things, but VR even started back in like the 90s and was kind of more of a novelty thing to do just as kind of a fun, whimsical activity. But it's gone from that to today is being used as a much more integrated part of the design process in architecture. And so that's a really fun part for us, is being able to take not only our 3D models that convey so much more information about a project than it did from even AutoCAD and computer-aided drafting, and even more so from hand sketching. But it allows us to even put people in a space. So I like to say, if an image can say 1,000 words, what will it say when you're walking around your new building before it's even built? So one of the products that we use is called the Enscape. That's E-N-scape. And so that's a plugin actually instead of a program by itself, and it works directly with the programs we use like Revit and SketchUp. So what that allows us to do is to take our 3D model and then to put a headset on and walk around right with it. Part of what Enscape allows us to do is real-time visualization. So as you're walking around a model, you can actually have somebody on the other end make changes to a model. And a really cool part about it too is not only can you just walk through your model sitting at a desk with a headset on, but we can even export an entire 3D model to a client, for instance, who can just open the program on their web browser, either on their laptop or on their phone even, so they can check out a design in process. So if you're at home and interested in learning more about virtual reality, there's a number of tools out there, but a really common one that's really fun to play around with and can work with so many different apps, even just from your smartphone, is Google Cardboard. So Google Cardboard has a number of different virtual reality apps that you can get on the Play Store or the Apple Store, but also it's a very affordable headset, so you don't have to get a whole big Oculus. You can get Google Cardboard sets for as low as $10.
Those are pretty cool tools. If you haven't had a chance to use Oculus, if you haven't had a chance to use any virtual reality, most of you at this point probably have, but it is a big benefit and obviously something that they're using in the design side because it's hard to convey the complexity of what's being created by architecture, construction, engineering professionals all day, every day. You know, they live in that world and they build it. This really helps facilitate that conversation about design and creating the spaces these people are investing so much money into. So I think a great reminder of the power of technology, not just being something that we experience now, whether it be at our homes, playing video game systems, it's present every day within the fields that we work in architecture, construction, engineering, and it'll really be the future of creating the spaces in which we live, work, and play, like we said.
Absolutely. And just one little last bit about the VR is a lot of what architects and engineers and just designers in general do. I mean, one of the big things we have to be really conscious about direct and clear communication. So if you're a client, whether you're trying to build a house or you're a school board trying to do a new school, it's really important for us to build trust with our clients so that we can most clearly and effectively communicate with them about to what their goals are and how we can bring it to life. So if we can actually put them in their space instead of just pointing to a plan drawing, which might have a lot of confusing symbols and things on it, but if you can put somebody in their space, it's a lot more easy to communicate, and there's a lot more trust and clarity that comes from that. So.
Absolutely.
Well, with that, that's all that we have for our activities for you today. And just want to say thank you so much for joining us today and taking the time to learn a lot more about the careers in ACE and whatnot. And just a reminder, Build My Future next year will be held on April 5th in 2022. And we are planning for it to be an in-person event, and we look forward to seeing you all there. For more information on that, you can go to explore-ace.org/buildmyfuture. And if you just go to that website and then click on the events tab, then it will show up under there.
Another big thank you to our master level sponsors as well today. Hills Bank, the Greater Iowa City Area Home Builders Association, the Greater Cedar Rapids Housing and Building Association for their contributions, as well as all those that contributed at the Journeyman, Apprentice, and Friends of the Industry levels to make this event possible. We really appreciate it. All of today's presentation was recorded for you guys, and it'll be uploaded to the ACE portal for you guys to access, as well as your counselors to get you and any friends that may have interest in this in the near future. So closed caption will be added, so you can share these with friends again and learn more, or go back and review those sections you may have found most interest in. If you're interested in ACE careers, please reach out to your local counselor at your school, and they'll connect you with workplace learning connections or other opportunities to get paired up with some of the businesses you may have heard and seen from today, as well as many others that are part of the ACE sector board community. We'd love to help you navigate your career path. We know you have lots of options, and we hope that today it gave you a little bit of an insight into the diversity of the ACE field and really explain the need that we all have and young people like you becoming interested in the careers that we offer. We look forward to hopefully seeing you guys on a job shadow or apprenticeship in the near future. Thanks again for being a part of the Build My Future event, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, everybody.